Let's play a game. I'll show you over 20 game shows that absolutely should not exist for one reason or another. Whether it's outright fraud, exploitation, humiliation, psychological torture, dangerous disasters, or maybe it's just a miracle they even got made at all. And at the end, you tell me which ones you'd actually play. Starting with... these TV producers went to prison for scamming viewers. Over the last 15 years, talent competitions in South Korea known as survival shows have become really popular. One of the biggest was Produce 101, which brought in 100 talented young artists, gave them fun challenges to show off their personality and music performances to show off their talent, and let the audience vote to decide who would advance. The final contestants would form a brand new K-pop group and get thrust into pop stardom. All the power is in the hands of the fans, who the show calls citizen producers, so they're happy to drop 100 won per vote to bring their favorites to the end. But during the live finale of Produce 101's 4th season, viewers could tell something was way off when, to the shock of everyone, some fan favorites were eliminated. A conspiracy was afoot, and if you don't think K-pop stans won't get to the bottom of this, then you don't know K-pop stans. They broke this thing wide open when they discovered some impossible coincidences in the voting tallies. In every round, the vote gaps between rankings were identical. First and second place had the same difference as third and fourth, and so on, all the way down the board. A lawsuit was quickly filed by hundreds of viewers against the channel Mnet for electoral fraud, and at first the channel played dumb and said that this was an error with the presented vote tally, but the final results were not manipulated. Then the police raided the production company's offices, phones were seized, and through audio recordings, it all came to light. The producers had manipulated voting results in favor of contestants whose talent agencies paid them off. Not just for this season, but for every season. Bad enough as is, but these companies had taken 125 million won from their own fans, aka citizen producers, paying for votes that were completely meaningless. In total, 10 people were arrested, and the producers were sentenced to upwards of 2 years in prison and fined more than 75 million won combined. The group that formed from the rigged season 4 winners disbanded shortly after the trial. There's a lot of unethical stories throughout this entire video, and this is one of the rare times the people behind it actually faced any consequences. And the heroes were K-pop fans. We salute you. This couple lost $800,000 because of Post-it notes. In Fox's $1 million money drop, contestants are given $1 million in physical cash at the start of the game that has to be wagered on 7 multiple choice questions. So if they aren't certain they know the answer, they can distribute the cash across more than one answer, but whatever amount of money they put on an incorrect choice, they lose through a trap door. They go home with all the money that's left after the 7 questions. Let's see if we can get through the very first episode without any problems. Gabe and Brittany are the lovely contestants, just hoping to win enough for their dream wedding. All that cash is sitting right in front of them. Gabe can't stop petting it. With $880,000 still on the table and 3 rounds left, their next question is, which of these was sold in stores first? Macintosh computer, Sony Walkman, or Post-it notes? After a lot of back and forth, Gabe gives the money one last pet, and they put $800,000 on Post-it notes. Then watch it all disappear through the trap door. The show hits you with a slow-mo replay so you don't miss the exact moment their hearts shatter. The correct answer was Sony Walkman. Or was it? This completely rattled Gabe and Brittany, who'd go on to lose the rest of the money. But viewers at home were also rattled by that question. And upon looking into it, Post-it notes were introduced under the name Press and Peels 2 years before the Walkman. Fox's response to all of this was, nah, we checked with the Post-it note company. We didn't mess this up. 2 days later, Fox said, whoops, okay, fine, we did mess this up. Hey, do y'all want to come back? And Gabe and Brittany would decline that offer. Host Kevin Pollak later said that they lost everything on the next question anyway, so it didn't matter. But Kevin, that is incorrect. They lost everything 2 questions later. Down the pit you go. $1 Million money drop only made it 12 episodes before getting dropped by Fox, but not before delivering a game show moment with the same gut punch energy as the umpire blowing Armando Galarraga's perfect game. I still can't watch that footage. It's too painful, and I'm not even a Tigers fan. Someone was arrested for attempted murder because of how much this show pissed them off. While America was in the middle of the Great Recession, when vehicle seizures were in the millions, Spike TV's Repo Games turned one of the worst days of someone's life into a bottom-of-the-barrel game show. Repo men show up to take your car away, but with your car already hooked up to the tow truck, the host offers you a deal. Answer 3 of the 5 trivia questions correctly, and you keep the car. Even better, the show pays off the entire loan. But get too many questions wrong, and your car is repossessed contest on national television. The trivia challenge is no easy feat either. It gets so intense, this contestant broke a flip-flop. It's an extremely stressful situation for anyone, but most were open to the idea of exchanging their dignity for one last Hail Mary at paying off their car. And the credits point out that even the losers got a small appearance fee for participating. Now this guy can finally afford a shirt. But Repo Games naturally upset a lot of people. While filming the 9th episode, a dude shot at the film crew, and he wasn't even the one getting his car repossessed. This high school teacher and former HOA president was just an angry neighbor who was mad because production parked outside his house. He was sentenced to 90 days in jail and 5 years of probation. TMZ's article about it closes with, "No one was hurt, but the show sounds pretty awesome." It's not. The show ended after 2 seasons, but now that car repos are at their highest since 2009 when Repo Games originally aired, this getting a reboot would be the ultimate recession indicator. People always say they want to see how regular folks would do in the Olympics. This show did that, and it led to over 30 injuries. Sorry, these are not just regular people. They're celebrities competing in real winter sports challenges. But being a household name doesn't help much when you're flying 55 miles an hour on a bobsled. 2 years before airing on Channel 4, the show was originally meant to be on ITV, but they turned it down because the chances of someone famous getting seriously hurt were just too high. They weren't wrong. Before the first season even started filming, 2 celebrities backed out, one with a shoulder injury, and it all snowballed from there. Concussions, dislocated elbows, broken ankles, fractured vertebrae. The jump was sending celebrities to the hospital by the dozens and had producers wanting to jump out a window. A production insider said, "It's been a nightmare. Everyone's getting hurt." In season 3 alone, 7 of the 16 celebrity contestants withdrew due to injury. Former Olympian Eddie the Eagle Edwards had been a commentator for the jump until the last season when he was cut for voicing safety concerns. And the series was never the jump in ratings Channel 4 hoped it'd be. If you want to know why, look no further than this winning jump in season 2.
And would he get a good lift off? Oh, he does, but in a rather strange style and over-rotates.
After the 4th season, Channel 4 finally put these celebrities out of their misery and said there were no plans for another series of The Jump. Imagine competing on a game show where the prize is not getting deported. Gana la Verde from 2004 was a Spanish language game show that cast undocumented immigrants, put them in Fear Factor style competitions, and promised that if they won, they'd earn permanent legal status in the United States. You want a green card? Get out there and catch that greased pig. Eat those live scorpions. Let this attack dog maul you. And you're not done yet. The 2 finalists will battle it out to prove their worth to society by cleaning windows really well. Afterwards, each winner gets the fairy tale ending of a limo ride straight to an immigration lawyer. Gana la Verde was seen as exploitative and, most of all, misleading, because the show could not actually give you a green card. The actual prize was just 1 year of legal help, which wasn't really all that helpful because immigration cases often take longer than 1 year, and many of the winners did not even qualify for a green card. So the show creators said the winners could just give the legal help to a family member or a friend like it was a Bass Pro Shop gift card. At the time of this cover piece, not a single winner had actually received that permanent legal status they were promised. There's nothing that illustrates just how sacred US citizenship is, like forcing people who just want to stay with their family to eat a bowl of live worms on TV. I wish I could say this was a show that got axed quickly, but Gana la Verde ran for 3 seasons. And now, 2 decades later, folks, it might happen again. In 2025, a TV producer pitched the same idea to the Department of Homeland Security, this time calling it The American. The DHS made a statement saying that it was a fake news media hoax, but damn if a game show like this feels exactly on brand for the moment we're living in. This is the only game show where the loser needed a ride home. Beat the Crusher was a trivia competition from 1998 with 2 families competing to win a brand new vehicle. But the catch was the losing team's own car would be tossed into a massive metal compactor called the Crusher and smushed into a tiny cube. The show was literally built around destroying people's property for laughs, but the losers weren't the only ones going home unhappy. The show absolutely stunk. The Crusher had barely any screen time. time. The real wrecking machine was host Freddie Starr and his urge to crush people's belongings and personal boundaries. And most of the show revolved around what I would consider to be cruise ship entertainment from inside what appears to be a shopping mall. Kids face painting contests, lame talent shows, and a coolest guy in town competition that the host used as his golden opportunity to lick a dude, spit on him, and grope his junk. By the end of the hour-long program, I'm ready for them to just throw me into the crusher. But finally, these two families begin duking it out with some high-stakes trivia while their sacrificial cars dangle above the crusher. When the losing team's vehicle is flattened, production makes them pose for a cheerful photo next to their new car cube. They probably only kept a smile on their face because they assumed the show would not leave them empty-handed and hook them up with some sort of consolation prize, or at least a ride home. But this former contestant commented that after their car was crushed, they were left with absolutely no way home. They reluctantly arranged a taxi for them after some pushback. Beat the Crusher only lasted 10 episodes after people started outsmarting production by bringing in junk cars and pretending these were their real vehicles as a safety net just in case they didn't win. Consider the Crusher officially beat. You'd be lucky to win and go home with nothing if you played this game show. Legendary host Wink Martindale returned to television in 1996 as the Big Daddy of Debt, in a game show that proves poverty can be fun. Debt kicked off every episode with the players holding up little plaques like mugshots, announcing their name, how much debt they were in, and why. Some blamed student loans, one said they blew it all on a year-long Grateful Dead tour, and my personal favorite,
I'm Melissa, and I'm in debt because I never saw a vintage Barbie doll I didn't like.
Or you could even participate in Baby Week, for those who have fallen deep in debt because of their newborn children. Instead of starting at 0, the scoreboard opened with how far each contestant was in the hole. Every right answer chipped away at their debt, and the ultimate goal was to climb their way back to 0. If you think this is a ripoff of Jeopardy! You're not paying close enough attention. Each answer has to start with "you are" instead of "what is," and the board categories go horizontally instead of vertically. It couldn't be more different, but that wasn't enough. Jeopardy's production company sued and won, forcing Debt to overhaul the format for season 2. Wink Martindale said after this it just wasn't the same and the ratings dropped. In the end, the Lifetime Network, aka Television for Women, ended up canceling Debt because the show actually drew more male viewers than their target audience. What happens when you leave children in the desert to fend for themselves? If you're around my age, Kid Nation from 2007 was the coolest goddamn TV show you've ever seen. 40 kids are dropped in the ghost town of Bonanza City, and with limited adult interference, are tasked with building a society of their own. Cooking, cleaning, caring for livestock, building structures, holding elected positions, and everything in between, all while being filmed 24/7. You may not think this is technically a game show, but there were challenges and prizes on the line, and each episode, a $20,000 gold star was awarded to one kid during their town hall meeting. And I've always really wanted to talk about this show, so I don't care, I'm gonna count it. Will these kids create their own paradise, or will it turn into Lord of the Flies? Either way, it's a ratings gold rush for CBS. And for the kids, no school for 6 weeks, living in a real life wanna-do city, dream come true. As a kid dying to be on this show, I was devastated there was never a second season. As an adult now though, I totally get it. Kid Nation was a lawsuit barreling through the desert like a nuclear tumbleweed. 8-year-old Jimmy here says he thinks he's going to die out there, and they haven't even gotten off the bus yet. Bonanza City is also maybe slightly cursed. It's really a movie set that's been used for tons of westerns throughout the years, including where the deadly Rust shooting took place in 2021. During the 40 days they're filming Kid Nation, this free-reign summer camp gave the kids and production some unsurprising surprises. Night 1, temperatures dropped way lower than production expected and exposed the kids to potential hypothermia until they were given sleeping bags the next night. Ambulances were called a few times when one kid accidentally drank bleach and another suffered grease burns to her face while cooking. Not to mention, according to an Esquire article, several kids got sick to the point of vomiting due to altitude sickness. Plus the serious sanitation issues, with there only being one outhouse for 40 kids to start with, no toothbrushes and no showers until they could be won in a challenge, and no adults showing them how to properly clean their dishes. When the dust had settled, everyone really wanted to know, Was any of this even legal? A New Mexico official said they are pretty sure Kid Nation violated state laws requiring facilities that house children to be reviewed and licensed. And SAG had concerns that the show may have skirted child labor laws by calling it a summer camp instead of work. But today, for those kid pioneers who have shared any life updates over the last 20 years, I'd say they turned out to be pretty cool people. Most live normal lives. One pioneer became an actor and went on to star in Chicago Fire. And two of them, Michael and Sophia, now have a podcast together called Kid Nation by the Kids. I won't speak for them, and I suggest just tuning into their show yourself, but from what I got from their conversations is that, sure, production was chaotic and definitely not well planned, but it, generally speaking, wasn't the traumatic nightmare people assumed. Every kid had their own unique experience, so some were good, some bad, overall weird and unforgettable, which describes most of childhood. Michael still has his gold star, Sophia has written a memoir about it, and even said, "It's the best fucking thing I ever did in my entire life." Television's most evil reality shows can all be traced back to this one. One of the first programs built entirely around personal tragedy was Queen for a Day in the 1950s. Women would come on stage and share their life struggles, usually poverty, losing their husbands, raising sick children, and then beg for things that would make their lives a little easier, like a washing machine or medical equipment. Then the audience would vote by applause, and whoever suffering got the loudest response was crowned Queen for a Day. It was a beauty pageant for misery and exploitation in its purest form. My God, the defeated face of this poor woman who pleads for a wheelchair for her son so he could go outside. The applause meter barely makes it to 5 for her as she wonders why she didn't sell her suffering hard enough. Meanwhile, the show won't stop cutting to cheerful ads with smiling models posing next to shiny new appliances that their own contestants could never afford. The host seems sympathetic, but he is also constantly mocking the women's vulnerability. They'll share with him just the most heartbreaking story you've ever heard, and he'll be like, "Why are you crying?" Well, sir, the whole game is convincing a room full of strangers that your life is the most tragic. It's really in their best interest to cry. Even as the winner is announced and dressed in royal robes and a crown and seated on a throne, it does not feel like victory. It's more like exhaustion and a little humiliation. And the prizes are absurd. Where the hell are they gonna put all this stuff? Look at the size of this freezer. Or how about the one winner who works in the egg business and just earlier said she has 7,000 eggs at home and they give her a year's supply of eggs. Incredible. Thank you a lot. The original Queen for a Day ended in 1964, but was revived a few times, including a 2004 special hosted by Monique. But reality television is still a trauma vampire to this day, and this is coming from someone who watches reality television. I'd say most competition shows are just remixes of this one. The only way to win this game show is to not vomit. G4's Hurl from 2008 was a competition built on one sick idea: eat as much as possible, then endure spinning devices without throwing it all back up. The show said $1,000 and the Iron Stomach Award would go to whoever eats the most and hurls the least. But the wiki page points out that this technically isn't true. The winner is the contestant that hurls last or not at all. The stakes were low, the budget was low, and the prize was low exclamation point. But Hurl was must-see TV for those starving to watch grown men eat free food and then go on carnival rides. Production was prepped for maximum spillage. Vomit cams are at the ready, crew members are dressed in hazmat suits, and the hosts keep a safe distance, only appearing as hands holding notes, as if they were too embarrassed to show their faces and be associated with all this. The show's goal was to induce tidal waves of barf, but according to this article, an entire episode would go by without anyone hurling exclamation point. So the juice ain't worth the squeeze for viewers. I'd even say the prize ain't worth the puke for players. The show lasted 11 episodes before G4 hurled Hurl into the trash. And my motion sickness is so bad that watching one episode made me secondhand queasy. Remember when I tried out being a gaming streamer and almost passed out 5 minutes into Resident Evil? Because I remember. Where am I supposed to go? I'm getting a little dizzy. I'm getting dizzy. I'm getting fucking dizzy. I'm a little bit lost. I'm getting a little dizzy. I really don't know where I'm supposed to go and I'm getting dizzy. I'm sweating already. So, getting motion sick again. Fuck. I'm getting nauseous. I'm getting a little motion sick, to be honest. This whole stream is just you guys watching me struggle. Would you commit a felony on national television to win a car? The Intercept was a Russian game show that got people to steal a car, then try to outrun police for 35 minutes. If they escaped, they got to keep the car, and if they didn't, well, you'll see. When the show was created in the 1990s, Russia was dealing with a huge spike in carjackings, and the Russian police force's street cred for stopping these crimes was sinking by the day. So as a last-ditch PR stunt, the Intercept was created with cooperation from Russia's traffic police as what they hoped would be a public safety demonstration that proved how impossible it was to get away with stealing a car. I also suspect they thought viewers would root for the cops, but obviously that didn't happen. The show pulled in around 60 million viewers an episode, with everyone cheering on the car thieves, and kind of got everyone excited about the concept of carjackings, the complete opposite of what they hoped for. And for a safety experiment, it was insanely unsafe. This wasn't going down on some controlled stunt course. These were car chases through the real streets of Moscow. I mean, you're watching cars weaving through traffic, drifting between police cruisers, and smashing straight into telephone poles. When they caught the players, the cops used this as a big show of force. Those who lost didn't get thrown in prison, but they were dragged from their cars, pinned to the ground, and in some cases had guns pointed at their heads. In 24 episodes, only 3 contestants actually escaped. But even with that win rate, the whole thing was a disaster for police. They realized the show made them look bad, car theft didn't drop, and you had viewers rooting for the criminals. The experiment failed, so the show was canceled. This game show was exposed red-handed for being rigged. What's known as the Hello Papi scandal happened in 2007 during an episode of the Filipino variety show Wowowee, which was a crazy popular global sensation, and more than just a game show, it was a straight-up party. The crowd energy is insane, and they got some big names to come over to the Philippines like Mick Foley and Flo Rida. This scandal began when a contestant on the show made her way to the final jackpot round of an episode. For the grand finale, there were 12 different colored wheels, each containing different amounts of money, and the white colored wheel is randomly selected for her. She is then given a choice: take a guaranteed 100,000 Philippine pesos, or take whatever is inside the mystery white colored wheel, which could contain 500,000 Philippine pesos, 1 million, 2 million, a house, or absolutely nothing. She originally chooses the mystery white wheel, but the host strongly encourages her to take the smaller guaranteed cash prize of 100,000 instead, and she changes her mind and goes with the guaranteed cash. When the prize in the white wheel was revealed, it turns out to be 0. So she clearly made a good call, right? But when the host goes to reveal which of the other 11 wheels contained the big prize of 2 million Philippine pesos, he picks up the violet wheel to reveal it also had 0 in it. Then from the back of the wheel, you can see him pull out another compartment that does hold the 2 for 2 million, which sparks a media frenzy, with the host of a rival network accusing Wowowee and its host of rigging the game. The show's network claimed the error was due to a design flaw, and the Wowowee host would go on to respond to the other host's comments, and the two would continue arguing back and forth with one another, each responding to the other while hosting their respective shows, escalating into a full-blown public relations war between the two networks. The Hello Papi scandal prompted an investigation by the Department of Trade and Industry for violating the Consumers Act, and the network was fined 290,000 Philippine pesos, which is just a fraction of the jackpot prize. Wowowee ended in 2010, but new versions of the show were later created, like Wowowin, which ran through 2023. Then in 2025, the host ran for senator, but lost. And when I posted about this before the election, I was accused of being paid off by the Filipino government as a smear campaign against Willie. Nah, man, I do this free of charge. Wait, you guys are getting paid? Unfortunately, we're not done with this show. Back in 2006, Wowowee was holding its first anniversary special, hyped up with massive prizes, including a 1 million peso jackpot, which was about 23,000 US dollars at the time. Life-changing money in a country where around 40% of people were living on the equivalent of less than $2 a day. The main event was at a small arena, but they also set up a second location at an outdoor stadium, and that's where things went horribly wrong. Tens of thousands of people began camping outside the stadium days in advance just for a chance to get in and maybe be picked. The line eventually swelled to 30,000 people for a venue that held only 10,000. People were so desperate they refused to leave their place in line. They ate there, slept there, even urinated in place rather than lose their spot. And the organizers reportedly never coordinated with police for crowd control, even as the line spilled into the streets. At 6 a.m. on the day of the the show, staff started handing out tickets to an already restless crowd when word spread that only the first 300 people in line would be eligible for the prizes. That's when this turned into a catastrophe. The crowd surged forward, pushing the front of the line into a narrow, sloping passage leading down to the stadium's gated entrance. Security was completely overwhelmed and closed the gate, trapping the people at the front while the thousands behind who couldn't see what was happening kept pressing forward. Some survivors reported that there were also bomb threats and false alarms shouted by crowd members, which caused even more panic. The force of the crowd was so strong, it bent and broke sections of the steel gate, which you can see here. When it was over, more than 400 were injured and 73 people lost their lives, most of them elderly women, and the youngest victim was a 4-year-old girl. The news footage from that day looks like the aftermath of a war zone. Wowowee's host initially wanted the show to go on, but the network decided to postpone it. Years later, the DOJ cleared the host and the network's top executives of liability, but 8 staffers were facing charges for reckless imprudence as of 2014, and that was the most recent news I could find. Today, this is recognized as the largest death toll in a game show. This show didn't just cost people their reputation. In one case, it actually cost someone their life. Fox's The Moment of Truth from 2008 hooked contestants up to polygraph tests, asked them increasingly personal and humiliating questions, then brought them on stage to answer those same questions, this time in front of cameras, a studio audience, and their own family. Tell the truth, according to the lie detector, say all the things you would have taken to your grave, and you win money. Lie once, and you lose everything. The questions go from uncomfortable to life-altering. Have you cheated on your spouse? Do you really care about starving children in Africa? Were you drunk on the night you were abducted by a UFO? At first you'd think, what's the big deal? Nowadays people do this on the internet for free. And some contestants walk away with serious cash. But at what cost? Here's one woman whose final question for $500,000 was whether she believed her father, who was there on stage, had sex with a minor. She said yes and won the money. But look at her. Is that the face of someone who cares they just won $500,000? The American version was ugly, but the international versions were way worse. The original format actually started in Colombia, where one contestant admitted on air that she had hired a hitman to kill her husband and still walked away with the prize. But the most disturbing case came from Peru. The very first contestant of their show, a 19-year-old girl named Ruth, had her parents and boyfriend there for support. Over the course of the episode, she revealed deeply personal details about her life, including that she had accepted money for sex. After this question, she calls it quits, walks over to her mom, and begs on her knees for forgiveness. All the while, her boyfriend sits just feet away, shaking with anger. The host told her, "The truth is always illuminating. It will not do harm, even if it hurts." The lie detector would determine that to be a lie, because weeks after the episode aired, Ruth's boyfriend, with the help of his uncle, would kidnap her and take her life, throwing her body in a well, blaming it on his national humiliation and a hope that he could steal her winnings from the show. Both men were sentenced to life in prison. Afterward, the host said he held no guilt for what happened by saying, "If a guest leaves the show and is hit by a car, will it be my fault?" This show locked people in boxes and waited for them to snap. In 2005, Fox reality channel executives said they wanted a new game show that no one else would dare to make. And they made what one former contestant called a marathon of awfulness. Solitary took 9 strangers, locked them in tiny isolation pods, and pushed them to their breaking points for 2 weeks. 24/7 surveillance, no human contact, minimal food and sleep, and the last player to quit wins $50,000. Not much in exchange for your sanity, if you ask me, and the show creator later bragged, "Look at what we can get ordinary American people to do for a lousy $50,000. The goal of Solitary was to push these players to their absolute physical, mental, and emotional limits. The living conditions were hell. You're all alone in an empty pod no bigger than 10 feet wide, no windows, no clocks, pure disorientation. Every challenge was psychological warfare. Lying on a bed of nails, spinning until vomiting, unbearably loud noises, rotten smells. Everything was designed to break them, and it worked. For season 1, we watch one player go from clear frontrunner to clearly insane. The isolation, sleep deprivation, and the last straw was a lack of chapstick that finally broke him. He says he began to hallucinate and thought other players were coming into his cell to mess with him, and after lashing out at production, he calls it quits. And it wasn't even during a challenge. I read that the season 2 winner actually prepped by cutting their chapstick use beforehand. Lesson learned. While I honestly found Solitary to be an interesting social experiment, some condemned the show for valid reasons. This came at a time when prisoner abuse was a hot button topic in America, and one of the producers even admits that they were capitalizing on the collective morbid fascination around the T word. torture. One sassy writer from the Boston Globe, after watching Solitary, asked, "What, no waterboarding?" But the show creator says that he believes this experience helped the players become better people, and even floated the idea of turning Solitary into a nationwide therapy program. The psychologist behind the famous Stanford prison experiment had this to say: "Is it therapeutic for me to shit on you?" It's funny you should say that because... Dude, you are not prepared for how bad this sucks. In 2000, during MTV's Snowed In Winter Special, the network filmed a brand new show called Dude, This Sucks. This inverted talent competition had teams perform bizarre acts, and if any of the judges weren't impressed, they'd slam a hammer on their podium and the crowd would scream, "Dude, this sucks." It sounds like a program that was fit for the Jackass era of MTV. The crowd was into it and everybody was having a good time. Then shit hit the fan during the second act when MTV staffers invited a group of middle school girls to the side of the stage. These 13-year-olds assumed they were getting VIP treatment with front row seats to the show. They didn't realize they were the show. Two dudes dressed as Boy Scouts walked out, introduced themselves as the Shower Rangers, and perform a little campfire skit. Then the Shower Rangers turn around, open a flap on the back of their pants, and spew diarrhea directly on top of the girls. MTV's president of programming later called it a terrible incident and claimed it was unintended. Hey, I know all about accidental number twos, but everything points to this being a premeditated poop. The Shower Rangers supposedly had taken laxatives beforehand to guarantee a big bowel movement, and the camera crew within the splash zone were obviously clued in because they made sure to poop-proof their equipment in advance. Two of the girls' parents sued MTV, and the girls say this basically ruined their life. And I imagine that was no exaggeration. This is the kind of humiliation kids move cities over. The pilot for Dude, This Sucks never aired, and footage of the diarrhea debacle has never been released. Out of all the lost media people beg to be found, this is one that everyone seems pretty content with never seeing. Although I'm sure we'd all love to know the identity of those Shower Rangers.
Suspense is killing me. It's Joey!
Huh. What if we turned human reproduction into a sport? The producers of Big Brother wanted to know, and in 2005, they pitched to German networks a TV series of microscopic proportions called Sperm Race, where 12 men would spawn their little racers to see whose swimmers could swim fastest. Men would provide samples in private on-air cubicles, then one lucky sperm from each guy is placed on a track, and they're off to the races. This race would have no impact on the gene pool because no actual conception would occur. Instead of a child, the owner of the winning sperm would receive a red Porsche. No networks chose to move forward with Sperm Race, but believe it or not, this wasn't the only time someone tried to gamify human fertilization. Just a year earlier, the show Make Me a Mum was pitched to Channel 4, and it had even higher stakes. A woman would pick a sperm donor based on his intelligence and sex appeal, only to have him compete against a genetically compatible donor in a televised sperm race to see who reaches the woman's egg first. This show gained zero traction with Channel 4, and a spokesperson of theirs basically said, "Please lose our number." Although TV networks pulled out, this concept was reborn again in 2025 when a tech startup couldn't keep it in their pants and held a live sperm racing event in LA with everything from press conferences, weigh-ins, play-by-play commentary, and celebrity cameos. Hype for this new sport splashed all over the internet, and ticket prices ranged from $20 to $2,500 with the promise of seeing real sperm in real-time action. But as the Free Press reported from inside the crowd, this whole thing was BS. The sperm race was faked on stage with pre-made video clips, and the winner was already known beforehand, and the sperm cells were CG animations. I'm not sure this was any better than a mascot race between innings at a baseball game. But it won't be the last we see of the world's smallest sport. In September of 2025, the tech company announced $10 million were raised from angel investors, and their website says this venture isn't, quote, just about sperm racing, although, let's be honest, that's hilarious. It's about making male fertility something people actually want to talk about, track, and improve. I wish them well, but I'll hold off on investing in any sperm racer trading cards for now.
Do you think we could pour their nut in the drink and just have everyone drink the nut?
Well,
if there's any game shows I didn't cover in this video, it might be because I covered it in a past video. I'll put a link of any of those in the description with timestamps if you want to go see those. One final question though, true or false, did you enjoy this video? If true, you should subscribe so that I'll have more subscribers. And if you want to see more videos from me, check out my last one where we talk about movie productions that went horribly wrong. I'll see you in this other video, and let's do this again sometime.